All right, first question is, have you ridden passenger in your car?
I've never ridden passenger in my car.
No?
No.
Never.
First time.
This is the first time you're letting someone drive your
First time letting
truck.
someone drive my truck. My van.
Or van.
I trust you, Larry.
Oh my God. Can I roll up the window?
Yeah, go for it.
This way. This is it. This is the Dajibans. If you guys don't know, it sounds Japanese. Essentially, it is Japanese. Dajiban is Dodge van, converted into katakana, right? And but that's what they call them. You know, just that's how they use katakana to create English words, right? Like basketball or computer, or whatever. There's just so many things that kind of transfer over to the Japanese language. But what blows my mind is Dodge vans. Like it doesn't matter. It just doesn't make sense. It's like one of those things where it's cool, and then it gets imported into Japan, and then it gets cool there, and then it's like imported back. What an interesting culture, huh? It
is, and it's one of those things where like I remember seeing a video online about it, and it sounded so crazy, but it looks so right.
It's so weird. All right, so I'm Larry Chen. Welcome to another episode of Hoonigan Autofocus. We got Lu Win here, the builder of this Dajiban, and we're actually up at Angeles Crest, and I'm going to be the first one to drive this, which, what an honor, really. It's such an honor. So how do you do this? You brake release here?
Yeah.
All right, so I'll tell you right now, I've never driven a van like this. I've driven many minivans, but I've never driven a big Dodge van like this. So we'll take it easy, we'll take it slow, and we'll get it down the mountain, and we'll talk a little bit about everything that has to do with Dajibans. Oh my God. Oh, it's so crazy because I'm like sitting on the tire, basically, right? Or the tire's right here.
The tire well, the wheel well. I mean, you're like, they didn't really care about legroom width when they made these vans.
Yeah, they cared about everything else room. Right? There's just so much room behind us, but there's not much in front of us. It's like the nose is right here.
Right.
This is legitimately like driving a huge bus. Okay, here we go. Dajiban. Oh, this thing is so crazy. It's so long. It's so weird because I look at my review and I see that I see the rear window and I see how far it is, and it's still part of this van. It's so crazy. Okay, so Dajiban, how long ago did you find out about it? Did you find it from a NoriYaro video?
I did.
Alexi?
Vans aren't really the coolest thing to drive around in. That is, of course, unless you are driving a Dajiban.
Yeah, I saw that video, and then I forget, and then shortly after, I remember seeing an article in a car magazine. I forget if it was Road and Track, but they did a full write-up on it. And you know, it's a thing in Japan. They have them in different colors, and they have an annual track day for just the vans.
Yeah.
So it just looks so cool to see them.
I don't get it. Why the Dodge vans? There's other vans. There's a lot of vans.
Right.
But why the Dodge vans?
You know, I think there was, from what I've understood, is that there was a surplus of them after they used them on Navy bases.
Oh.
And so they were like sort of like, you know, more readily available.
Got it. Versus Ford vans.
Or
Sprinter vans or whatever. But there was they probably used this to transport personnel or troops or whomever around the Navy bases or the US bases in Japan. And then, so instead of, I mean, you couldn't really bring them back to the US, right? So what you would do is you would just sell it on the Japanese market.
Right.
And then these Japanese tuners got a hold of them and made them their own and kind of put their own Japanese flair on them.
Yeah, well, how it started was that they were using these vans to haul their motorcycles to the track. And
I remember. Yeah.
And you know, as crazy as the Japanese people are, they probably stood there wondering, hey, why don't we, take these out on the track since we're here?
Yeah.
And then that's kind of all how it all started. And there's one big shop in Japan, and the guy's name is Abe-san, and he's like the main tuner guy.
Oh.
And they all kind of go to his shop, and then they still have the once a year track day. I want to say they're on their like 7th or 8th or 9th one, I think.
What a crazy culture. I just love that. So we see that a lot in tuning culture in general. Like something becomes cool here, and then it's the Japanese, they make it their own, they make it even cooler, and then it comes back around.
Right.
Which is just so weird to me. But I mean, it makes sense, right? I mean, like every culture, including car culture, they're feeding off of each other because it's so global now. With the internet, we can actually see what everybody's doing,
right,
what those guys are doing. So yeah, that's right. I remember clearly that was a thing because that's the best way to bring your motorcycle to the track because you don't need it's not exposed to the elements.
Yeah, they could just roll it up the ramp, and it's enclosed, super easy.
That makes sense. Okay, so what year is this van?
So this one's a 96. So right in the kind of in the middle of the year range that they build these vans. They call it the V series vans, and the generation goes from 94 to 2003. Right.
Okay, so that's, otherwise it's not a Dajiban. Otherwise it's just a van, hopped up van.
Right. Yeah. So that's the thing is, like, what makes a Dajiban or Dajiban a Dajiban,
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where I think it's all subjective.
Right.
I think the first thing first has got to be a Dodge.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it has to have a Dodge. And the thing is, it just has this look. It just makes sense, like the color, the accents that you put on it, the wheels that they're able to put on it.
Right.
It just makes it like I wouldn't say a ball, but it makes it like very contained, and it almost looks like it has a kit on it, but it doesn't, right? Or you add certain elements to the body, but it just makes it, I guess, flush, and it flows well. That's just why they like this van. It's like, I guess that's kind of the whole A86, Datsun 510, and there's just so many cars that are in that range of, hey, this was never meant to look good, ever. Right. It was just a pedestrian van, and it was just made for moving troops or cargo or whatever. It was just a passenger van. It was never meant to look good, but guess what? It looks good, and it sits right, and there's just the right modifications that you do to it to make it, I guess, a Dajiban.
Right.
We'll get some more shots right now. I'll have you drive it, and then we'll do a full build breakdown. We'll do a full talk on it. But right now, I want to get some nice shots of it in the shade, since we have like a little nice area here. So let me just position it for a shot, okay?
Go for it.
So that's the thing is, with something like this, I just have so much to talk about because, oh my God. And plus you have a backup camera.
I had to add that because
it's so big.
I was having like my kids go out and spot for me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, when it came time to change my head unit, I thought just a simple one.
Yeah.
But then the more I thought about it, I'm like, let me get one with a backup camera.
All right, so put in park, e-brake on. Let me get my cameras and then get some shots of this.
Go for it.
You just feel special when you're driving this. I don't know, you just feel like you're driving something special.
Yeah, that was the reason why I built it up, because I feel like after we saw that video with the article, like you think to yourself, like, I haven't seen one done up in the States.
Yeah.
And here we do have the Dodge Ram van,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
in our market.
And that's what makes it so special in Japan, is because it was never a car that was available to them from the dealership. You know, so the only thing that they've seen is ones that are secondhand.
Right.
You know, obviously now all of these are secondhand, but I'm sure you can get a lot more variety, a lot different condition.
Right.
So, tell me a couple things like, oh, that's V8.
Yeah.
Dude, it's sick. Actually has good power.
It's got decent power. So the Dodge Ram vans came, the B series came in 3 different lanes and 3 different motors. The 3.9 V6, which you can't have that for proper Dajiban.
Right.
The 5.2 V8, and then this one has the 5.9 V8.
So this is the biggest one.
This is the biggest one.
Okay.
It's kind of
So 5.9
or 360.
and so how much power is this putting out?
I think stock was like 235, but it's really torquey.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Right. So of course, I mean, you could use this to tow too if you wanted to.
It's almost like 300 pounds.
Right.
Yeah, and it came with the short one, and this is the medium. And then there's that long one, which is like the church bus. They call it the church bus. You know, the church van.
I like it.
Yeah. So it almost took me like a year of like casual Craigslist browsing to find this, because most of them you find these days are the beat up cargo work vans. It's like rare to find a passenger one, you know?
I see what you mean, yeah, because a lot of people use this as like an electrician van, a plumber van, or whatever, anything you need to use a van for, but, you know, they put a lot of miles on them, and then they just get scrapped in a way. I mean, what are you going to do with an old van?
Right.
But like this, actually, surprisingly, it doesn't have that many miles, huh?
I got it with 123,000 miles.
Oh.
And then, you know, I feel like as I get older and, you know, have owned a few cars, like when it's meant to be, it's meant to be. You know, there's always a story behind it. So I actually found this one. It was owned by an old lady. She's the original owner. Down in Newport Beach. And what she used it for was she used it to haul her art frames to art shows, like just local art shows.
So it was never actually used as a passenger van.
Yeah, the rear benches were, you know, clean, like never sat in. You know, she only used the back area to put her frames in, and that explains the low mileage. I mean, you know, 123,000, you know, for a 24-year-old car.
Yeah.
You know,
it's super low miles.
Super low mileage. So I took it for a quick test drive, and I already knew, like, you know what, let me.
But she probably didn't even realize what you would use it for.
I think some of them are actually starting to drift.
I don't think she had any idea.
Yeah, she didn't. She had no idea.
Yeah.
Did you even explain to her what Dajiban was?
You know, I started to, and I realized it was just too hard. You know, I mean, I wish I had the YouTube link and showed it to her. I think that just, you know, I would have explained it all that.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah, but that's the hard thing too, is that because it hadn't been really done up here in the States yet, a lot of info is lacking. And they don't make parts to modify the van in that style because no one does it, you know. So it took a lot of research, creativity, trial and error, you know, to kind of get it to what it is today. Yeah, it's cool because the 94 to 96 still has the old style dash. Like if you look at the dash, the retro looking dash.
I really like this.
Yeah.
Like the way. Actually, I love the speedometer. I think the speedometer actually looks really nice.
Yeah.
I mean, again, none of this was meant to look good for any reason at all.
Right.
You know, including like the wood trim, it was like an afterthought.
Right.
I'm sure a lot of this stuff was afterthought. But the fact of the matter is, it's aged enough for us to really appreciate it. Even this stuff, like all of this is OEM.
Yeah, so this is their quote-unquote top-of-the-line trim back then, the SLT. Yeah, and they call this interior fabric the confetti.
Oh.
Yeah.
You know, I do have to say, this sounds pretty amazing.
Yeah.
For like a V8,
right?
Like an American V8 in this thing. It sounds really good.
Yeah. Yeah, in 97.
It's actually pretty fast.
It's got a little bit of spin.
I'm actually really surprised how fast this thing is.
And it drives, once this gets moving, it drives a lot lighter than it looks.
But I see why they thought it would be fun to take it on the track, because it is rear-wheel drive,
Yeah.
which is not a thing anymore. All vans are front-wheel drive, pretty
Right.
much. Maybe not so much the bigger ones, but still, like, they also, I feel like new vans just don't look as good. They may not be as potentially performance oriented.
Right.
You know, especially the ones where now you want to be able to stand up in your van.
Right.
You know, that's probably not very good to go around corners.
Right.
Like, these guys, when they're taking it around the track and they're whipping it all around the track and pushing super hard, they're still not even flipping over.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like curb jumping and stuff, right?
Yeah, like and most of the way it's the front, so you can bring the rear end around quite easily.
Yeah, so they get these pretty sideways too. They drift them pretty good.
They drift them really good.
Yeah. So it was untraditional. I started this video with a drive, but I figured this is kind of the vehicle that should start with a drive. So now that we're kind of taking a look at it from the outside, it's just so crazy to see something like this modified here. So do you know if there's any other ones in the US?
Yeah, there's a few. I think, well, my friend down in the Orange County, I got him building one. So, and then I know there's a couple people that have hit me up with asking for information or sharing pictures about their build. So there's a few. I think there's one guy in Minnesota trying to do an LS swap. So there's some good ones out there. So I'm really excited to see how those progress. Yeah, so that's, it's cool that it's become a movement. So what are the key things right off the bat that you need to do to a Dodge van to make it a Dajiban? Well, first things first is the stance. You got to get it lower. And that's the hard thing, is that there's no information out there. The most common question I get on Instagram DMs or messages is, how do I lower this thing? And there's different ways to go about it. I took a more conservative approach. I didn't want it slammed or down on the ground. On the rear leaf springs, I had them taken apart, and each individual leaf de-arched. And then the front springs, cut some coils off, and then heavy duty shocks all around. Yeah, so what kind of heavy duty shocks are they? KYB, they're KYB, meant for this van actually, so. Oh, okay, all right. And of course, the thing that really sets it off are the Wantanabe wheels. Are these Watanabes? So these aren't Watanabes, so there's a whole story behind that. Okay. Is that I had some set of wheels I was running for a while, but I knew that I needed the Watanabes to really complete that Dajiban look. I placed an order with the local shop. 2 months later, found out that Watanabe makes the fitment for the van, but they only sell them to that Dajiban shop in Japan. Called them up with a friend that spoke Japanese, and unfortunately he won't sell anywhere else. So it's like starting from scratch, right? So you gotta probably get some custom made. So I actually hit up Rotiform. So they were able to spec out these custom 2-piece forged wheels. Whoa, so these are actual Rotiforms? Yeah, these are Rotiform MLW 2-piece custom forged. They were very meticulous. I told them I was gonna run different brake calipers up front. They're like, hey, we wanna give you a brake measurement sheet, make sure that everything fits. So these wheels are made for this van, spec'd out to give you maximum lip. Okay, I like that. I mean, I'll be honest, it makes sense that they wanted to keep it exclusive, right? Because they've built this culture and they want everybody to buy wheels from this shop. So you couldn't actually buy wheels from that shop either? Yeah, I think unless I probably showed up in person, and even then, knowing that that van wasn't in Japan, I don't know if I could have gotten them. So I was kind of bummed for a little bit, but then got to thinking, you know what, since we're out here in the States, why don't we do things, we could be inspired by them and then kind of do things with a little bit of our own twist.
It's getting crazier. It's like boom, boom, like back and forth. You know, the American van, okay, Japanese culture, okay, all right. It's getting too crazy. So, but that's pretty cool. So what are the actual specs of these wheels?
So these are 16 by 8 in the front. The offset is -12, and then 16 by 9.5 in the back, offset -19.
Wow, it's like millimeter precise for you because you wanted it to sit exactly flush.
Exactly, yeah. I think the stance and the wheel fitment for me is like, that's what kind of, that's the foundation for a great Dajiban build.
Yeah, and why did you go 16-inch?
So they either run 15 or 16. And I think, 16 was a good look for me. I think 15 just felt a little bit too small. You probably have more tire. So I thought 16 were good.
Yeah, no, it looks great. I love the big sidewall too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, if you size up to 17, you lose a little bit of that sidewall, which kind of gives it that beefy van look.
Mm-hmm. And how close is it to rubbing? Is it pretty good?
Yeah, there's no rubbing at all. Yeah, I mean, it's spec'd out really, 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 really well.
Because if it's any lower, it's almost undrivable.
Exactly, yeah. Well, with the de-arching of the leaves, it gave me a good 3.5, almost 4-inch drop. Another common way to lower these things is to run a flip kit where they actually run the leaf springs underneath the axle. But when you do that, you're looking at like a 6-inch drop, which I think would have been a little bit too extreme for me.
Yeah, I mean, because part of it is that what people don't realize is you just lose that travel, right? And then it's just less and less and less drivable at that point.
Yeah, exactly. And especially with seats in there, which I'll show you in a little bit, like you might be carrying passengers, which
right.
You need
got
that.
It.
Yeah.
So another really big thing on the Dajibans is the brakes. I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like this is a thing.
So it is a thing. I saw them run Ferrari calipers there. So, I mean, that's just mind-blowing, right? First of all, you see a Dodge van drifting, fully tricked out, and then you look at the details and you see Ferrari calipers and you're like, what? That's,
So, but these aren't just painted on. These are actual Ferrari calipers.
Yeah, so these calipers are actually from a Ferrari 360 Modena. And getting to fit was an adventure. I think having no information, I messaged one or two of the Japanese guys on Instagram, and they were like, "Oh, it's an easy fit. It's a direct fit." It is not a direct fit. I think their definition of direct might be like take it to the shop and they know how to do it.
Yeah.
But these calipers, the stock ones mount this way. These calipers mount this way. So it's about making a custom adapter bracket. So the lines were simple. They're just custom steel braided lines from Hosman. But I was fortunate enough to find a fabricator shop, crazy enough to take on this project. I actually went to a few shops before I found one called CP Customs, and he was able to take it on. And so,
which, by the way, all the shops probably thought you were crazy.
All the shops probably thought I was a little bit crazy. They probably thought it was cool, but they probably thought like, no way,
You just bought used 360 Modena calipers?
360 Modena calipers, running Porterfield R4S pads. And it's so funny because, people think, hey, or people were asking me like, what are you gonna do for more power? And I'm like, what can I do with more power if I can't stop? I actually took it for a mountain run with the stock brakes, and by the time I got to just a light cruise down to the bottom, my pedal went to the floor, and that scared me. And I'm like, I need brakes. So this was a good kind of compromise because it's still running the stock rotors, so you're not having to do a big brake kit, which then you need bigger diameter wheels.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem at all because I was going downhill while driving this down the canyons just now, and it felt nice the whole time, and I'm sure I could probably stomp on it and it would actually lock up.
Yeah.
But the fact that you could still fit on the stock calipers or the stock rotor, and on top of that, it does clear really nicely with these wheels.
Yeah, it totally does.
So cool.
It is a custom job. I mean, there are some modifications you have to do to the caliper itself, so definitely not a direct fit, but it looks so proper now.
Yeah, it does. So how much does this actually weigh, do you know?
That I don't know. I don't know how much it weighs.
I mean, so it's because it's going to take a lot to stop this thing.
It does. But I did, even I think the unsprung weight from the brake caliper itself was a big difference. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So moving on to the front. So this paint, what is this?
So this is actually I was lucky. This is actually a stock factory Dodge van color called Arctic Silver that they had. A lot of people ask me if it's a wrap or if I got it painted, because this kind of shade is very popular these days with the Nardo grays and whatnot. So
yeah, also the cement grays for Toyotas.
Yeah, so I'm very fortunate this is actually a stock color.
Okay. And then this is a thing too, tinting the glass, right?
Yeah, sometimes they do it all yellow. I just went with this tinting the markers.
Okay, and going around to the front, we got the traditional Japanese license plate. What does it mean when it has the red stripe?
The red stripe is for temporary registration. So when someone's there visiting, or if it's a dealer car, they'll run a temporary registration. I just like the way it looked.
Yeah.
So I got it with that.
I love the tow hook.
Yeah, the tow hook, and then this front valance. So this is also kind of what makes it a Dajiban look, is that having like some sort of front air dam, and then finding one that fit. This is actually my second one that I've tried. I tried one from the Dodge Ram truck first, which actually fit pretty decent. But then this one's actually off the A9 Silverado.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
so it's almost like kind of just trying different parts and seeing how they fit.
No, that's pretty cool. I love all the little touches. Not so much like a livery, but just like little things that you've done to kind of make it your own.
Thank you.
Is this stock?
Yeah, so these are stock mirrors. I thought about kind of doing like little racing mirrors, but I think I wanted to keep the big mirrors to have the truck look.
This is very JDM too, huh?
JDM little window visors. And, I wanted to keep some sense of American, heritage to it. Kind of like almost like a identity crisis. It doesn't know if it's American or Japanese. It's just kind of both. So you notice like little things like Moon Eyes is really big in Japan.
Yes, it is. It's an American brand, but it was like saved by the Japanese, right?
Exactly. So they're a shop in Santa Fe Springs that got saved by the Japanese, and then now, they have their Japanese store over there, and it's huge. So I wanted to kind of throw some Moon Eye stuff in there to kind of celebrate that cross-cultural heritage there.
I like that. Well, so we'll get to the interior in a little bit, but let's go to the back. So what about the drums? Are those stock?
Yeah, so 94 to 2002, stock rear drums. In 03, they actually did a disc brake. So there are some people that I think are attempting a disc brake conversion. I think it's pretty involved. So that's something I might look into in the future.
And what about the rear? Oh my God, I love your plate. Like what a great plate. Daji! That is great. Oh man. Okay. So I love this too. I love that you can leave this open. This is stock, obviously.
This is stock, yeah. At the back door, they have two versions. They have one that's the split door, and then this is the more sought after barn door, which I totally love because it has that one big window that you kind of pop out. And then this screams 80s and 90s full-size van, these pop-out windows.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting because in Japan, this opens the wrong way.
That's true. That's true.
So like, for example, like my FJ, it opens the other way. Yeah, this opens the wrong way because, you're opening it into traffic.
Right, because the driver's on the other.
Yeah, the driver's on the side. Rear, taillights, stock.
Yeah, all stock, yeah.
But the body itself is really good condition. You got such a good starter car, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's the good thing is that most of the ones you'll find are white, work vans. So I think to find a passenger one, first of all, and then one in a good color it was a really good find.
Yeah, because the windows make it really look, I think it kind of really sells it. It looks really awesome. Yeah. Because without them, it would just be too blank.
Yeah, and I get jokes that, they see a van like this, they think it's like a creeper van or whatnot too, and then my comeback is that creeper vans don't have windows. So this is my saving grace, my way out of that one.
I like that. Tell me about this rear.
So I just threw something on to kind of give it a more racy look because, wanted to kind of go along that theme. So these are actually off of a Volkswagen CC. I took two of them because the van is so wide. So just kind of mounted them on just for kind of that rear diffuser look.
I like all the little touches.
Yeah, there's a Moon Eye registration one.
That's great. Tell me about the exhaust.
So this one is a Flowmaster, and it used to, the stock exhaust exited one pipe out here in the back. I kind of wanted that more like muscly, tougher look. So I went with the Flowmaster muffler, stock cats, and then I did a side exit with a slanted pipe and to kind of give it a good V8 sound and the rumble.
Yeah, it certainly sounds good. And tell me about the motor. Can we take a look at it?
Yeah, so.
Is there two ways to look at the engine? Is it you can look at it from this side and from this side? Or?
This way, yeah, this is called the doghouse, is where most of the work is done. Because the engine sits so far back, when I open this up, you'll probably see a lot of fluids, that kind of stuff. Most of the service is actually down there. But it's a stock 5.9 liter V8. I haven't done too much. That's probably my next thing I'm gonna do in the future. It's just stock looking.
But it already sounds good. Like I could hear it sucking in all the air. Right. I mean, because I guess you're sitting so close to the air intake.
Right, and then and the Japanese people, they run a nice little air intake that kind of comes out here. My fear is that it kind of sucks up a little bit more heat. So I haven't figured out a solution for that yet. But yeah, I'll probably start an engine work sometime next year.
It's seriously so far back. It's like, I mean, it's in the cab.
It's in the cab. It's in the cab. Yeah. So.
All right, let's dig into the interior. The interior, if you can go on that side, we'll start. I guess this is kind of where a lot of the magic is, in terms of it becoming a Dajiban. Tell me about the steering wheel setup here. Yeah.
So figuring out which steering wheel hub was a challenge. I actually tried 3 or 4 different ones. Finally figured out that there was one for the Grand Caravan that fit. So it's an NRG quick release with a steering wheel that little touches, like I had my daughter draw a little decal of van life just for fun, and then I made it into a fake horn button.
I like that.
So kind of like, keeping that van family theme. I really like this dash, like we were talking about earlier on the drive, that retro looking dash. And no Dajiban is complete without some racing seats. They, run different racing seats there. So I had these two mounted up.
So, and the thing that's really special about this is that, yeah, there's doors on one side here, but oh my God, you have 6 racing seats in here.
I do. So I wanted to do something creative in the back. I haven't seen, even the Japanese guys, I haven't seen them do racing seats in the back yet. They often, just clear it out for racing or whatnot too. So I hit up NRG and I said, hey, this is a crazy idea, but I want to run racing seats in the back. So I got the seats, and then the challenge was figuring out how to mount them. So I found a fabricator, and what they did is called DR Customs, and I had them cut my stock bench, because I wanted to retain the floor mounts. So they cut the bottom of my stock bench mounts and then fabricated these custom brackets. So with literally one quick push of a button, I could unlock them and take the whole row out.
Oh,
so they're completely removable.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right, got it. Yeah. So it just goes, I see. So it goes into the stock floor rails.
Yeah, it goes into the stock floor rails. And what's cool is that I can actually flip them around and kind of position them conversation style if I want. So it's kind of fun. And then, that fabricator did a really good job. He little details like kind of making these support look almost like a strut bar to kind of give it that racing.
Well, I like all the little touches like this sushi menu, kind of like roll bar padding that you have going on here. Found that fabric. There's just certain little things that kind of really set it off. Even up here, you got your collection of stickers, a lot of Hoonigan branding. Thank you, by the way. But a lot of this is just, you're never gonna find, I feel like I'm never gonna see another one this clean. Like, it's so nice, not cracked dash, probably garaged.
Yeah, this was a top of line trim, and what's cool is that even like little touches, like they have this little tray table that comes out.
Oh wow.
So like if you wanted to like hypothetically do work here, it's kind of cool, eat some fast food.
Dude, I think this is a good road trip, man. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for showing us this. Everything, even this Like, I can't believe this was stock. And like I said, at one point, if somebody looked at this, they would say, ew, like this is ugly. This is not very pleasant. But looking at it from, from my perspective now, it's just I'm so glad that this has survived the test of time. Oh, cool. You got a little subway
handle from Illust. Yeah. So little touches like that kind of just to make the van unique.
Well, thank you so much for letting me drive it. How did it feel sitting in the passenger seat for the first time?
You know what? It felt good. It felt kind of quick. It kind of felt like it got some scoot, and
yeah, it does. That's the thing. It does, and I think the sound really helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did it feel driving for you?
I liked it. I was actually really surprised at how good the transmission is. It actually shifts pretty fast.
It does shift pretty fast. I know a lot of them modify to like a ratchet shifter too. I've seen one person do a manual swap from an early model Dodge Ram van. So the possibilities are endless. I think because there were so many of these vans made just over the years, it's just a matter of finding out which parts might fit or come close to fitting and then running wild with it.
Are you ever going to take this to the track?
That's the plan. That's the hope. I wanted to build it up first. I wanted to kind of enjoy it, but I'm looking at probably late February, looking at a track day at Streets of Willow.
Oh, I can't wait. That's going to be so cool. I just can't wait for you to pass something I can't wait for you to pass like a Ferrari or something in this thing. I mean, that would be so hilarious because I mean, that's kind of the fun thing about going to these tracks is there's all different skill levels, but I guess, like I said, that's the fun thing is you potentially could drive with a lot of cars that are maybe a lot faster, but with a little bit of driver mod, potentially could be faster.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun. It's just fun for me to get it out there, and eventually want to learn how to get it sideways, and then have some more fun with that. So.
Oh, and then so you could put like an e-brake in it too?
Yeah, that'll be the hope.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll keep following you and seeing the adventures. I love seeing like the stages of builds, especially something this unique here in Los Angeles. But yeah, no, thank you so much for showing us this. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you at the track.
Will do. Take care, Larry.